or someone you know been affected by mental health or substance use disorder? Well, you are not alone. Welcome to the podcast, Riverfront Talks, Substance Matters. I am Tiffany Moore, the coordinator for the Beaufort County 360 Behavioral Health Task Force. We're going to sit down and have some in-depth conversations with individuals who may have struggled themselves with mental health or substance use disorder, or perhaps know someone who has struggled. Either way, we're going to have some inspiration, motivation, and maybe even some tearjerkers. Welcome to the podcast, Riverfront Talks, Substance Matters. Welcome back, everyone, to Riverfront Talks, Substance Matters. I'm here today at Clear Point with Ronnie Whitaker, our special guest. Welcome, Ronnie.
Thank you.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Feeling nervous?
Good. Yes, a little nervous, but I'll get through it.
Yeah, you got a good story to tell. We're ready to hear it.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to start out, and I'm just going to kind of give a synopsis as to why we brought you on and wanted your story told to the community, and then we're going to open up and let you take us through the beginning of your journey.
Okay.
So you were the very first graduate of Recovery Court.
Yes.
You went through that program, and it was during a time that you were having a lot of difficulty in your life, and you had some criminal justice involvement that led you to be in that program. Well, what we know about Recovery Court is for people who have a substance use disorder. So I want to start out and ask you a little bit about your history with substances. At what age can you remember the first time that you used drugs?
The first time I used drugs, I was around about 16 or 17 years old. But my first time taking a drink of beer, it was at my father setting up. He had died, and I was 5 years old, and I picked up a can of beer, and I drank it. And my mother said, "Don't worry about it. He'll be knocked out sleep in about 5-10 minutes."
So
yeah.
it was okay given the situation.
Yes.
From that point on, when did you said you were about 16?
Yes.
What drug was you using?
I just took a hit of marijuana, smoked a joint.
So a little recreational
Yes.
drug use, kind of like a lot of teenagers these days do.
Yeah.
You moved on to harder drugs.
Yes.
You want to give us a little information between the marijuana use and your next drug of choice?
My next, I was about 19, 20 years old, and I got introduced to cocaine, and in the form of crack, and I started smoking crack around about 20 years old.
Let me stop you real quick. How did you get introduced to cocaine?
Peer pressure, hanging out with older guys, and I decided to try it one day, and I started using.
Did they just give it to you as pure cocaine or pure crack?
I did cocaine first, then I seen them, cook it up in the form of a rock, and I told them I want to try that too, so I smoked some of that, and I liked it.
You liked it. When you first started using it and you felt like, okay, this is something I want to do, what did it make you feel like?
I was, it made me feel invincible, made me feel, like, I was on top of the world, which that was just a 5 to 15 minutes feeling.
So it was a clear difference between using marijuana and smoking crack?
Yes, it was. Yes.
So how long was it that you used cocaine before you became addicted, or you felt like you were getting dependent on it?
I had went to prison when I was 20 years old. Then when I came back from prison, I got hooked on it real bad. I started smoking it real, something like every weekend.
How long were you in prison?
The first time I did something like 8 months. Yeah.
And you got out and started back using as soon as you got out?
Got back the same, about a couple of days after I got out, I went back on the block and started smoking again.
So was it the people your age that you were smoking with? Were they older people at this point? Was it just popular to do? Kind of tell us, did you?
It was older. I always hung out with older people, and at that time, back then, about 87, 88, that was the thing to do, smoke crack. It was very popular.
So none of them told you that you would get addicted or anything like that? It was
No,
just kind
they
of like,
didn't know. No.
But they were also using?
Yes.
Okay. So take us from there. When you first felt like you were addicted to crack cocaine, what started happening in your life? How did your life change at that point?
I started, hanging on the block more. I started doing crazy things, started, selling, to support my habit. Then I was stealing, I was going in the stores and taking stuff and coming back and selling it for crack to get high off of.
Were you working?
At the time I was working, but, that was, I had smoked my whole check up before I even got it.
So you were, I guess people were fronting you drugs?
Yes, I was getting fronted during the whole week, and then Thursday when I get my check, I had to get all that up to the dope man.
So then you were borrowing back?
Yes.
So did that affect your living situation, your living arrangements or anything?
It really didn't, because I was staying with my mother and my aunt at the time, but it was causing problems because I won't give it no money. I won't pay my fair, my share of the money. Supposed to be, I've been kicking out to the house, to help out on food and other stuff at the house, and I won't doing that. I always had an excuse. I didn't have enough hours. I didn't do this. I didn't do just making excuses, which was crack was my real excuse for not having the money.
So at that time, you were functional. You were still functioning somewhat in a similar way that you normally would. So you were able to maintain, working, having a family life.
Yes.
Did you start feeling yourself pulling away from that?
I did. I had started missing days of work, staying out all night, trying to go to work, and I couldn't do it. So eventually I got fired for missing, so many days. And the manager told me, since I was a good worker when I was there, he said, just, come back in about 60 days and then we'll do a rehire on you.
So did he know what was going on with you?
He did, but he just didn't confront me about it. He waited for me to tell him I had a problem, which I didn't ever tell him, though.
Did you go back?
Yeah, I went back to work, and repeated getting high. Then I caught a sale charge while I was working. I sold to an undercover agent, and I was at work the day they came to my job and put me in handcuffs and walked me out the front door.
So you were selling, you were working, and you still weren't really able to maintain any type of money or anything?
Now, because it got to the point that I had to smoke it every day.
So is this when you knew that you were pretty much dependent on it? You were strung out, as people would say?
Yes, I was strung out then.
I know at one point in time, and let me go back to that. So at that point in time, you got another charge, this time for selling, distributing?
Yeah.
How long were you locked up?
I did something like 9 to 10 months, and I came back on a parole.
So when you go in, do they do any type of detox or anything to help you if you have substance use problems?
Well, at the time, at that point of time, I didn't go to no programs or nothing. I just went in there, did my time, and came on back out.
When you came out, you went straight back to using?
Went straight back to using. The same day I got out, I would hit the block. The same evening. So,
I know you told me at some point in time you became homeless.
Yes, I was. I was, doing it so much that I didn't want to put my mother and my aunt in jeopardy of getting put out of the projects. So I just stopped because I was having drugs and guys were coming to my window, knocking on my window, telling me, let them get this, let them get that. So I just, started, just hanging out, and I told my mother I was moving out, which I did. I did move out, but I ain't had nowhere to go. I just was staying in the street, going from house to house, staying there.
So even during your addiction, you still had a sense of pride that you wanted to protect your family from what you were doing?
Yes.
How did your mom take it? When did she become aware?
She noticed that when I stopped giving her money, and I was making excuse. I was drinking it up. She said, "You can't drink that much alcohol." So I wouldn't have told her I was on crack, and she just said, "You need to get some help. You need help." So I said, "I'm all right. I'm doing I can handle it." That's all I was telling her every time she tell me I need help, and evidently I did, and I couldn't handle it,
But she still tried to support you?
Yes.
So I know you also told me kind of when you felt like you were at your worst, was once your mother passed.
Yes, that was in '89. She had passed away, and I just, didn't care about. And I just gave up on life, period. And I started, smoking more and doing more, stupid stuff to get it, like going in the store, stealing and getting packages from guys selling it to support my habit. And sometimes I didn't have their money, I didn't have my money, so we'll fight or whatever. So it got worse.
So was it hard out here for you on the streets at that point in time?
It was, because I was always looking over my shoulder. I didn't know if the police were looking for me or the guy done smoked up his crack and didn't give him his money or nothing like that. So,
were people still giving you drugs to sell?
Yeah.
So you were still hustling?
Yes.
And you were still doing other stuff?
Yes.
What was the longest prison sentence you had?
Well, the longest prison sentence I did was 11 years and 11 months. That really took me through there.
And all of them were drug-related charges?
Drug-related charges, yes.
So, and I'm going to ask you this again just because, so when you went in this time, was there any type of detox or treatment or anything that they tried to get you involved in?
Yeah, I went to, what's the name of that program? It was up there in the mountains. I forgot the name of it. Well, anyhow, I went there and I signed up for it, and then I go to the class, right? Then the instructor was going around asking us what was our drug of choice. And I told him mine was crack cocaine. Then I asked him what was his drug of choice. He said he didn't have a drug problem. So I said, how can you tell us about our drug problem when you didn't have none? You got an anger problem. So I signed out. I signed out of the class. So he said, before you go home, you're going to do this program. I said, no, I'm not, because you can't tell me nothing about my drug of choice. So, I didn't ever go through it.
You didn't finish the program?
No.
Were you punished for not finishing?
No.
It was just finish your sentence?
Yeah.
So after you finished that sentence, which was your longest sentence, and you got out, tell us how your life was after that.
I got out. I came back to Washington and I applied for my disability because I had messed my back up in prison playing basketball. So I was staying with my aunt and them. Then things start going, south for me because I ain't had no money to give them. And when you stand under somebody's roof, you got to do what they say or. So I went on and applied for my disability, and it took me about a year to, stay in different places. And so I got my disability going, and I found me a place. And I stayed clean and sober for about a year.
You just did that yourself?
Yes. I didn't go to no programs. I ain't go to no rehab. I just did it because I was sick and tired.
Did you ever relapse after that?
Yes, I did. After about a good, after a good 18 months, I relapsed. I got too complacent. Things were looking up in my life, and I was doing good, and I got too complacent and stopped doing the things that were working for me. And I said, I'm do just one. That one turned into a binge. And I caught another charge. And that when I got introduced to drug recovery court.
So this is kind of like, you hadn't turned your life completely yet, but this was kind of that intervention that you needed.
Yes.
Okay, so let's flip this. We heard how it started, we heard how it went, how it spiraled, and now let's flip it so tell me about Recovery Court. You were the very first graduate of that program, one of the very first people to go through it. Tell us what that was like.
Yes, I got introduced to drug recovery court through a very good and dear friend, Donald Ray Keys, and he got me set up an appointment with me with the DA Seth Edwards, and we went to his office, all three of us, and then we talked, and he said, Seth said, I'm going to get you into this program because I know you ain't a dealer like that. You the middleman. I said, yeah, I'm just selling to support my habits. So I got into Clearpoint with, and got to talking to Mr. Tyree. They did assessment tests on me, and so I passed. So they accepted me in. I was the first one, and I stayed. I was the only one for about 3 months, and.
So what did you have to do? What did that entail? You had to come to Clearpoint.
Yes.
What else did you have to do? What is Recovery Court like?
Coming here, I had an MRT book. I had to go through that, and I was in here about 3 months. Just me and Tyree, we going at it back and forth. I get loud, he get louder, and we just bumping heads, but he meant the best for me, and I stuck with it. And other clients start coming in, so we got a room filled, and we just went on from there. I finished my MRT book. I got a certificate and a medallion, and I start helping out with the other clients coming. I'm showing them, telling them they can get through it. And so.
Was it easy for you to go through it?
No, because at first it was just me and him, and he kept the fire to my feet. And, I wanted to give up, but he said, I'm not going to let you give up. I don't care what you tell me or what you do. You can go out and get high, but I'm still going to keep it on you. You ain't going to give up. And
so they don't kick you out if you have a relapse or you have a positive test result?
No. If with that, I would have been kicked out because I couldn't pass a drug test. For real, I couldn't pass a drug test.
So you used throughout the beginning of being in recovery court in that program?
Yes, I did.
When did you, because I know you said you also started to help people after that, but when did you decide that you wanted to stop using?
About after about 4 months, after about 4 or 5 months in, I said, man, I got to get it right. They were about to put me out though. Judge Parker, she was about to kick me out, and they got to go through the whole team. They had a meeting, but they gave me another chance at it, and they told me if I don't get my act together and start passing the drug test, I'm gonna get kicked out, and I'm gonna have to go to prison for 26 years.
So that was the one thing that you didn't want to do?
No.
That was your turning point?
That was my turning point, because if I would have got kicked out, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today.
Yeah. How did you help the other people that came in after you?
Just, encouraging them, telling they can't do this, I can't, man, you can stick with it, man. Just, if you need help, I help you, man, and that's just in my nature. I just like helping people.
Mm-hmm. So you've been sober now. Let me ask, and you tell me if you don't want me to ask, but how old are you?
I'm 60 years old.
So you started using drugs, hardcore drugs, at what age?
20 years old.
So for 40 years, you used crack cocaine?
Off and on, yes.
At this point, while you're sober, tell me how long you've been sober.
February 18th, coming up, be 3 years I've been clean and sober.
Tell me what helps keep you stay sober.
Hanging around positive people, going to my NA meetings. I go to 45 NA meetings a week, and just, doing positive things, hanging around with positive people, and just keeping, staying in my lane.
Do you feel, we hear people, places, and things a lot when you're in the field of substance use. You're here. This is where you're from?
Yes, sir.
Do you feel at any point in time that I'm in this environment, I could potentially be around somebody I'm used to getting high with? Is that something you fear, or is it something?
I have been around, since I've been clean and sober. I done been back, around, right around this area, and it don't bother me, but I try not to, keep myself around it, and I don't be out here. Like, I stay in Greenville, and when I come here, I try to leave. If I'm not staying over, I try to leave before it get dark, cause that seems like when I'm here in the nighttime, my mind start wandering, and I don't like that, and I just try to leave before it get dark, cause I know how I am. But I done got through the drug part. It just my defects of character. I got to work on that. I'm past the drug part. I done got through that. It just my defects of character. I got to work on that.
Okay. Do you want to explain any more about your defects of character, or just?
I got a tendency, like, from being in prison for nearly 12 years, I got a tendency of, you say something to me negative, I'm going to say something to you back negative, and it'll get blown out of proportion. Then I start, acting out on it, and that's one of my defects I got to work on, and just, start being myself. Start being myself, because God didn't make us. He made us in his image, and he ain't made nothing wrong. He made everything perfect. And I just made a bad choice.
Absolutely, I agree. So one reason we do this podcast is because we want other people who are currently in active usage, who are struggling, who think, and drugs is a hard disease to beat, and they think, well, Lord, I got clean today and then I relapsed, and they're beating themselves up because they relapsed, and they can't see the bright, positive side of, where recovery is here, even though you're down here. What would you tell somebody who was actually in that process, who's going through it?
Well, just like my sponsor always tell me, you can be clean and sober for 40, 50 years, long as you clean and sober for today. Long you got today, you got it. You can make it, and just try to copy today. Just try to copy that day to tomorrow. Be clean and sober tomorrow, and keep repeating that, and you'll make it.
Is there anything you would tell, and I'm taking this back to when you first started using substances, would you tell a young person right now? There are a lot of little kids who are running around here who are smoking weed. They think it's, it's nothing. I'm smoking weed. I might drink a little alcohol, but it's harmless. Is there something that you would tell them to keep them from going down that path?
Well, now, back in the day when I was smoking weed, it was just regular weed. But today, I would tell them, do not smoke weed, because they putting fentanyl in everything. And just like I stay in the Oxford house, and one of my friends there, his son up there in Asheville, he was smoking some weed, and it was laced with fentanyl. And they had to rush him into the emergency room. So do not do no drugs. I'm telling you, it ain't cool. It ain't cool. It ain't cool. God, you don't know why. If you don't see them rolling it or not, you don't know what's in it. So don't even put yourself in that predicament. Just don't do it.
It's a lot of dangers out here today that people during our time didn't face. Even people younger than me didn't have to face that we're going through right now. A lot of the people that you grew up with, and you made the statement to me before, where are they?
Most of them done died over drugs, and a few of them are still locked up. I ain't got no chance of coming home.
But most of them don't have a good outcome at this point.
No.
Well, Ronnie, I want to say thank you for giving us your time, sharing your journey with us. I really appreciate it, and I hope it does touch some young person who was out here, experimenting at a time in their life where they think things are easy and, everything is nice and clean, and it's not. If you've got any final words, here's your chance. If not, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Only thing I can say is there's no hope in dope, and I leave you with that.
No hope in dope. Love that. Thank you all for tuning in with us today. This is Riverfront Talks. We'll see y'all later. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of Riverfront Talks, Substance Matters. If you are from the Beaufort County area and know someone who is suffering from mental health and substance use disorder and may be looking for resources, my information is below in the description. We also would like your feedback to gather input about today's episode. Please also complete the short survey listed in the description. A special thank you to our sponsors, ECU Health Beaufort Hospital and KB Reynolds Charitable Trust. Like, share, and subscribe. See you later.